The Spot Track Podcast, talking sports contracts, the salary cap, and business of sports.
Hey everybody, welcome to the SpotTrack.com podcast. I'm Kevin Sylvester, along with the founder of SpotTrack.com, Mike Giannetti. Paul Peck has the week off. We're presented by Morgan Stanley Global Sports and Entertainment. They give professional athletes, entertainers, knowledge they need to make informed decisions about their finances and wealth. And hey, if you have wealth through business, they'll help you out too, I'm sure of it. Learn more by visiting morganstanley.com/GSE. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, LLC, member SIPC. Well, NBA players, we've talked about the NBA a lot. It's really, the NBA has, I think, done a great job with this movement, Mike, in the contracts over the last couple years.
Yeah. With
the playoffs, with how great they've been. And, I think, I can't believe I'm able to say this, I think the playoffs the last couple of years, even though we had an idea who's been greater than the NHL playoffs, right?
If not right in line, right?
Yes.
Because I think both struggle with the first round still. The first round in both is kind of a walkthrough, and I think they're working on that. There's some restructuring rumors out there about how they can maybe make some changes and make it a little more interesting, all while drawing back the regular season a little bit too, which I think another conversation to have there.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to go, right? We've got to make the playoffs even stronger and weaken the regular season, just because, look, you want your athletes playing at least 95% of the time, right? And the current NBA, especially with all this movement, you're going to see guys. You're going to see Kawhi Leonard and Paul George take, 25% of the regular season off, at least? Right? LeBron, maybe 20, 25?
There's another part of it, too, the travel, right? We've had a couple of athletes in recent years develop blood clots.
Yeah.
And, part of that's due to flying. Believe me, I flew on team charters for years with the Sabres. And, get up, start moving around. You just can't sit around and do that. And it's a concern for athletes. Chris Bosh is probably the most notable player, right? And then we just had the
Brandon Ingram.
Yeah,
who's still recovering from that. Now a Pelican. So you're right. That's all an aspect of this. It looks like the NBA, no surprise, is on top of it, and they're gonna make some change within the next 18 months, which is probably going to be for the better. The
Adam
idea
Silver,
of a play-in tournament. Have you heard this idea
yet? Yes.
Of the play-in tournament to get the lower seeds sort of re-ranked before we get there? It just sounds phenomenal.
It's incredible.
It's like March Madness for the NBA in April. It sounds phenomenal.
Yes. I think it would be tremendous.
Yeah.
No, Adam Silver, whether it's all his ideas or not, he's getting the credit for it. Wow. Commissioners,
he's listening.
Correct.
He's listening. He's not this big ego standing in front of a microphone. It's really refreshing. He's going to make some mistakes, and he's made some. Especially with the the off the field stuff, which you're going to have that in all these sports. I think clearly that's another conversation to be having with the NFL right now. But we're going to leave that alone until further notice. But for the most part, his innovation has been legendary in terms of commissioners.
Done a great deal. Now, speaking of great deals, so the dust has settled in the NBA with signings and trades.
We think, right?
Good point.
We think.
Good point. Yeah. We're still in July. But we want to look at the most expensive duos in the NBA. And it is startling, the cash that's there. And I wonder how this sits with the one player. This trade was fascinating to me, with Westbrook going from Oklahoma City to Houston to play with James Harden. These two were teammates before in the past. There wasn't room for Harden in Oklahoma City when he was the sixth man. He came off the bench when Oklahoma City first came on the scene. It was Durant. It was Westbrook. They lost, in the NBA Finals to LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and the Miami Heat, and they moved Harden to Houston. Think about what that team would have been, right?
Well,
had they stayed together.
I do think about it because Oklahoma City just really missed the next wave of the NBA that was coming. They didn't see it coming, and they weren't willing to leverage themselves to get there, right? Essentially, Houston is what Oklahoma City could have been, right? They're replacing superstars in and out as they wish. That's just Daryl Morey's style right now.
Don't we blame that on natural gas?
But yes, very much. But Oklahoma City didn't want to be taxpayers at the time, right? They didn't want to leverage their future for a 3-4 year window.
Yep.
All of which now is the way to be. That's
correct.
how you exist in all of sports, not just the NBA. But they had a chance just to say, we're packing this thing in. We're going to pay premiums on everything. We're going to pay the tax bill every year. but we're going to put these 4 guys out there, and the other 9 on the roster mean nothing to us.
Sure.
And
they're rice in the burrito. They're filler.
They had a chance to sort of become the pioneers of that era, and, they blew it up. It's hard to blame them. They're a small market. The athletes probably really didn't want to be there at the time because brand mattered back then. It did. Where you were mattered. It doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Houston's not a big market. We just looked at the Forbes valuation rankings. They're way down the list, the Houston Rockets, in terms of major sports teams. Farther down than I thought they'd be.
You're talking about that Forbes valuation. But as far as market size, Houston's a top 5 city in the country.
Yeah, but does that really matter at basketball?
No, it shouldn't matter.
They're going to fill up the stadium no matter what, right?
No, correct. It does not matter.
It doesn't matter, but that was the point, right? Oklahoma City, It shouldn't have mattered either.
Correct.
But it did matter to the players back then.
My kid had KD shoes when he played for Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And he knew he played for OKC.
Have to just think KD wanted to leave.
Correct.
Right? But they could have turned to him and said, no. We're all in here. We're all in, right? We're going to keep this thing together. We're going to ride this window out. We're going to be the first essential super team. They could have done it. They could have done it right there. They could have kept it all together, and they didn't want to do it.
James Harden, Russ Westbrook, Harden combined, there's $76,705,482.
Easily the most expensive duo in the game right now. That's, if you think about that in terms of a $109 million salary cap, right? 76 combined for 2 players. It's mind-boggling. But this is where we are. This is the league now.
So let me ask you this question. There's only one basketball.
Yeah.
And they both play with the ball in their hand.
Yeah.
How are they going to do this?
Well, look, Chris Paul got a raw deal because he's older, kind of a jerk, right?
Well, that's the word.
Reportedly,
right?
He's kind of a jerk.
Correct.
So it was easy to sort of just lay it all on him. Like, oh, he's in decline. He can't do it anymore. He's not the superstar that James Harden needs. Can it just be that his entire, existence was deflated because of James Harden?
Sure.
Of course it could be, right? And why couldn't Russell Westbrook have the same thing happen to him? Regardless of age, regardless of how he plays, you're right. There's only one ball. There's only one person to bring the ball up, and James Harden doesn't pass. So,
2 years ago, Westbrook, I thought, was the best player in the NBA.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he was
the
incredible.
triple-double year?
Yeah, he was
course.
incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. And he plays with an edge.
Well, here's the knock on Westbrook, and it is that exactly. It's that he's a stat filler. He fills up the stat lines. He cares about the stat lines, which, you can love that or hate that. But when it comes to having to fit into a system like this, where he's going to have some sort of other role, he's just going to have to. Maybe he carries the ball up the court 25% of the time.
Or defend.
Yeah, he doesn't do that well either.
Yeah, well, might have to start playing defense.
So that's the knock. Can he be this isolated role player next to James Harden? And maybe his job is just to go and get rebounds. He does that well.
Yeah.
But, between the two of these guys, there's not a lot of defense there.
No. So, well, and again, it's, okay, you go this time, I'll stay back, right?
It's a lot of the same, to your point, it's a lot of the same for this cost.
Certainly is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you have projected wins here.
Yeah.
That's for the team.
Team wins for 2019. They were just released through Vegas, and I think USA Today has their own version of this. But this is essentially the number that I'm seeing for most of these teams. Yeah, Houston's closing in on 60 wins.
Right.
So somebody thinks this is going to work.
Sure.
Because that's a big, big number.
It's not the 70 that Golden State had a few years ago.
No. You know what's cool is that nobody's there.
Which is great.
That's what's cool. We had all this movement, and the movement sort of created itself parity. You've got a couple of good, great teams, the Clippers, the Rockets, the 76ers now, and then everybody else is sort of in that nice little B tier, and you never know. You just never know with those teams. How do you bet that, right? How do you bet that?
You spread the money around is how you bet
you
it,
bet every
sure.
horse, yeah.
It's interesting. The top four here of the player duos, and I'll run down the list here real quick, and we'll talk more about the players. Only one has what I would call a long tradition. That'd be Houston, going back to the Elijah days, right? But Brooklyn was the Nets.
I see what you're saying.
Right?
Here,
yeah. Golden State, they're recent. The LA Clippers,
yeah.
Those are the top four now, and they got Boston at 5. But Brooklyn with Kevin Durant, who's not going to expect to play this year, Kyrie Irving, they're just a shade under. They're 59,000 under 70 million. So they're 69,941,000, and they're paying the most for a guy who's probably not going to play for him this year, and Kevin Durant at 38,199,000.
How about 38 projected wins for that team?
Yeah.
How about you go through all of this? You bring in 3 big stars, right? Durant, Irving, and DeAndre Jordan. You spend a ton of money, $350 million in contracts.
Yeah.
And you're projected to win 38 games this year for a team that made the playoffs last year.
But if they had Durant, they'd be up in the 50s.
Right. But
so
is it really worth it?
Well, it's worth it them to get Durant.
For next year?
Yes.
Man, I see. I made
the pressure's good. Listen, they're in New York. Their pressure is going to be on.
Huge.
Right? I mean, the media's going to be all over them. Kyrie Irving.
But you know how the media works more than anybody.
Yes. They're not going to care about
this.
Durant.
Isn't going to work this year.
No, it's not. Shouldn't.
Kyrie Irving could destroy this entire thing right now. He could. He does not like to be in bad situations, and it's going to get ugly by January, right? And if it does, and he starts shooting his mouth off, is the whole thing ruined? Does Durant even show up in 2020? Or is he out the door?
Great question.
Yeah, right? I mean, this whole thing could explode before Durant even starts this process.
It'll be fun to watch. It certainly was. You want to talk about how do you gamble this? They gambled the most.
Big time.
Golden State, Seth Curry, Thompson.
50 wins with Thompson missing half the year and Durant gone.
Well,
50
but getting
wins.
Russell helps that, right?
But that's new.
I know, but this is just by the duos.
You're just assuming Steve Kerr can make it work immediately. 50 wins.
Well, they had to do. Listen, they had to do something, right? They've got money committed. We'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah.
The Clippers are really the interesting one. I mean, they inject the best player in the game right now.
Maybe Paul George was an MVP candidate for half the year last year.
They got Leonard and George. George is making more than Leonard because it was a trade on a contract. They're $65,700,000. Boston. Well, Gordon Hayward was on that contract, which I mean that looks like Gordon.
It's a
nice
big
player.
year. It's a big year for him. He can get out after this. There's a player option which he'll probably take.
But that doesn't look like a great contract.
No, I mean that was a nasty injury.
Yeah, it was a horrible injury. Yes. Kemba Walker with the 38. Excuse me, I was looking at Walls. Walker, $32 million.
You liking this?
$700,000.
You liking the way Boston sort of plays out here?
Well, I think Boston. They're projected to 46 wins.
Mm-hmm.
I think Walker. He brings a lot of what Irving brought without the mouth.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah,
I think just Boston will enjoy the calm there.
I agree. It'll be a lot more stable regular season at least.
Isn't Kemba a better shooter too?
No. Kyrie is. Here's the thing with Kyrie. He's easy to pick on because of the things he says.
He's a heck of a player.
He's outstanding. He's an outstanding player. I mean, he was. The LeBron-Kyrie situation was so good, and it lasted for so little that we didn't really understand how great it was. I was really rooting for that to happen again this year.
Did you ever see? I have to pull these out. But after they lost to Golden State, like they won and then lost, and then Kyrie demanded the trade, right? Or LeBron wanted him to trade, whatever. They won. They won the title
because of him.
Yeah,
I mean, he had a phenomenal game.
He
6.
had this comments about LeBron. Yeah, were like, this guy is unbelievable. Like he was just praising LeBron all the way around, and then like
a month later,
it's like I
can't play with that monster.
Yes, I was like, you got to be. I actually gave a corporate speech using his quotes to talk about teamwork and how everybody can't be the star, and this guy's recognizing he isn't the star, and this guy is, and he wants to learn everything he could from him.
There's something.
And then a month later,
there.
he's gone.
There's something wrong. I don't know if he's got bad representation. There's something wrong.
Maybe getting some bad advice.
It's almost like he blows his career up every 2.5 years.
Sure,
truly, and there's just something going on there. But it's not good for him. I mean, it's just not good for him. And this, like I said, this could be iteration number 3 of all of this with Brooklyn. If this year goes bad, what happens with him mentally and what happens with Durant wanting to come back? So we'll see on that.
The worst duo financially in basketball.
We'll see.
Well, John Wall, right? He's got another injury. And Beal with Washington. They are...
Beal's about to get more money.
Collectively, $65 million and nearly $300,000.
So Beal right now is sort of like LeBron those last couple years in Cleveland, where it was one guy and everybody else, right? That's Bradley Beal right now. He's a heck of a shooter, and there's a ton of teams that want him, and there's been trade offers left and right for this guy.
He's making $27 million.
Yeah, and then 29, I think, next year. But they're going to offer him Friday morning when he's eligible for a contract extension. They're going to offer him three years, $111 million more. Because they want this guy to stay. They need somebody to stay in order to fill this thing up, right? because John Wall will be back. Some iteration of John Wall will be back maybe in, I don't know, February, maybe not this year. He's got like 4 more years left, John Wall.
Yeah.
They extended him early.
He was a great player.
He is a great
right?
player. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's like Kyrie. He's had 2-3 injuries on those legs.
Yeah.
Do you ever come back fully? I don't know. But yeah, that...
I say he's probably more like Derrick Rose. But, maybe if he can hope to be Derrick Rose, right?
That'd probably be enough.
Yeah.
That'd be enough. Especially if you've got a guy like Beal who can shoot the lights out.
Yeah.
Let's just quickly go down what you've talked about here. Houston, we've got on-court concerns.
Sure.
Brooklyn, we've got Durant and Kyrie concerns.
Right.
Golden State, Thompson concerns. The Clippers, Leonard and George.
No concerns.
I have concerns, by the way.
They play the same spot, I get it.
No. I love them on the court, but Kawhi had the injury a year ago. He had to really, really hamper his regular season. You talk about load management.
Yeah, they come out and even say that he had some sort of strain, don't you think, in the finals?
Oh, yeah.
Like a
no
groin
question.
strain or something?
Hamstring, yeah.
There was something there.
But Paul George had surgery on both shoulders this summer.
And let's not forget, he had a horrific injury. He had a broken ankle, right? Several years ago.
Crazy concerns.
Yes.
Boston, I don't know. I kind of like that. That
sure.
To me is the stable one here. Obviously, John Wall in Washington, concern. Lakers, is this the best duo?
LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
Is this the best duo right now?
Well, it's going to re-energize LeBron, for sure.
Davis is on an expiring contract. His life is right in front of him.
Yep.
If this doesn't work this year, he walks. Davis walks.
It is going to be fascinating. LeBron being the point forward, feeding him the ball.
Just seems like it's going to work, right?
It has to.
It seems like it's really going to work.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think the Lakers, I would have liked to see them get that third piece. They tried their butts off to get somebody in there as that third piece. DeMarcus Cousins is right? He's going to clean up the boards nicely. It means Davis doesn't have to be in there doing the dirty work, which is good.
He's not nearly the player he was prior to
No, but I think in an isolated role, I think they're looking to have him in. Who's the outside shooter on that team? Who's going to be that guy? Kuzma's not a great shooter. Rondo might be okay in and out, right?
Yeah. It's LeBron.
We'll see. There might be a December trade coming that kind of blows the doors off here for the Lakers.
Paul and Adams in Oklahoma City.
Fine, right?
Sure. Chris Paul's going to have the ball now.
It looks like
right?
he's staying. And if you take a look at the roster on Spot Track and you kind of flip around the Thunder, it's almost not too terrible of a team.
Right.
Like the starting five for that team is going to be pretty tenable.
I like Adams, so.
I like Adams. I like Gallinari. I like a lot of things. Gilgeous-Alexander, the new point guard they acquired from the Clippers, maybe to work in step with Chris Paul a little bit here. It could work. They're projecting to 41 wins. That could easily be 45, and they're in.
How about the projection for Philly? Now, Harris and Horford are the highest paid duo on the team at $60,700,000. They're projected 59 wins. That's the most on this
But they're
list.
maybe the third and fourth most important players on that team.
That's correct,
right?
yes.
Embiid, Simmons, who both have gotten paid in the last 2 years, they're in their younger salary iterations still. So there's plenty of money. Take a look at the cash being thrown around in Philadelphia.
Are they the favorites in the East? Besides Milwaukee? It's got to be Milwaukee or Philly, right?
They are the current regular season champion favorites.
Yeah.
They're the overall win favorites in the NBA right now is the Philadelphia 76ers. So that's how much people like their offseason. I'm not convinced. I like Al Horford.
Right.
I like Joel Embiid. There's a lot of what ifs. Ben Simmons still can't shoot.
Correct.
They lost J.J. Redick. That means this Josh Richardson from Miami is going to have to be the shooter. Has he ever been the shooter? There's a lot of question marks.
That was a great signing by New Orleans.
It's a loaded team, though.
With Redick. Toronto, the defending champions, Lowry and Gasol, they're at $60 million. They're $60,500,000. They project to 45 wins. They're going to
in the East. That's like second or third.
Sure.
So they're just sort of reverting back to the old Raptors without Kawhi, right? Have they learned anything?
Well, they're not the old Raptors without Kawhi because they had DeMar DeRozan. So
That's true.
So
it's true.
Yeah, they've got a big
and Lowry's older and Gasol's older. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Big hole to fill there. Utah, Conley and Gobert. So they're at $57 million. They projected 49 wins.
A lot of people really like this team. I think they're a year away probably, but this is a team to watch. You've got there's a lot going right here. If you look around that list, they've got 3 first-round picks that they've brought in-house. They bring in Conley to sort of be the grandfather here and put the glue, similar to Kemba Walker in Boston. So those are the two teams I think are really aligned right now, and both sort of project to have the same sort of season. So It wouldn't surprise me one bit if both those teams are deep into the playoffs.
Portland, you got Lillard and McCollum.
They're the most expensive team in basketball, Kevin.
And the
Trailblazers.
Their top duo is only $57 million.
That's right.
I'm saying like they're 11th on the list here of the top 13 duos.
In terms of the duos, yeah. But
yes.
Lillard just got a nice little Supermax extension.
Sure.
So he's locked in for quite some time. But this year, you're right. They're down the list a little bit. They've just got this roster filled out immensely. They've got a lot of money being spread all over to like 7 players right now. They're going to be deep.
Be interesting to see if it works. Be interesting to see if it works, spreading the money around, because it doesn't work.
And
yes.
They're only projecting to 41 wins. So people don't think it's going to work, but we'll see.
Milwaukee, you want to talk about value here. They projected 54 wins. They're 12th on this list, and you got Antetokounmpo and Middleton that projected they're $56 million. Giannis is 25.8. Middleton is 36.
So Middleton was the bring back guy here, right? They let Brogdon, the point guard, walk. They filled in some pieces from there. Again, this could be a big December trade team.
They definitely need something.
If they go and get somebody like a Bradley Beal, if they're the team that can land a Bradley Beal somehow, they're going to go. I mean, they're right behind Philadelphia in terms of regular season win projections. Obviously, Giannis has, I think, another level to get to still.
Yes, I would agree with that.
So there's a lot of good things that kind of happen here. Yeah, this should be the best value duo in all of basketball. Did you see the Lakers signed his brother?
I did not see that.
The Lakers signed, they brought in a waiver claim on Giannis' brother a year and a half early, right?
Sure.
Because that's when Giannis will be up for an extension, and you know that is the next player in line.
Which is going to be interesting because if you've watched the HBO feature, it was like a year ago on Giannis. Likes Milwaukee. Likes how small it is,
seems
right?
to like it, right?
The story's unbelievable. He and his brother played on essentially what was the pro league over there, which they said was like a Y league here, right?
Yeah, Y, yeah.
Like the New York City Y league, and they had to share sneakers, so they couldn't be in the game at the same time because they shared the same pair of sneakers, which is fascinating to me, right?
You want them to stay small market, right? Is that what you're getting to?
I think it'd be remarkable, right?
I
stay
think so.
a buck. It would be great.
I think so.
San Antonio Spurs, DeRozan and Aldridge, they're 53.
They're here because I don't think they're going to win anything this year.
Yeah, 37 wins they project to.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible DeRozan is flipped in the next couple of months because if Pop realizes that they're not, where they need to be, there's no reason to pay a duo $53 million this year.
Is that the greatest trade ever in the NBA?
What, Kawhi?
Yeah. I'm talking for Toronto swinging that deal to get Kawhi Leonard in and they win the championship.
The funny thing is it was pretty fair, too. I mean, San Antonio didn't get jobbed.
Correct.
They got a starting superstar. I mean, DeRozan's a heck of a player still. So it was fair, and yeah, obviously, how can you say it's not? The guy was literally the reason they won the championship.
Right. Or, well, as you've pointed out before, and we have, or is the St. Louis Blues trade with the Buffalo Sabres the best trade? Right in line.
Right in line.
You got the
Ryan O'Reilly and Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, is that how it's going to be? Because Verlander with Houston Astros, right? I mean, it's getting that piece 3 months into the season, and then you just realize you're another level, championship level.
I think with basketball though, the impact's great. I mean, not to diminish what O'Reilly did or Verlander did.
Yeah.
But there's more players. Like you can't play all the time. Where you look at all the minutes Leonard played and the impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge.
Still, though, to learn all of that and get comfortable with a team that quickly to a championship level, it's an unbelievable story.
9 of these 14 duos are new.
Isn't that crazy?
That is
9 of the
incredible.
top 14 duos are brand new this year. Yeah, nuts. And I think, like I said, we've talked about 2-3 teams that might still have trades to come.
All right, we're going to anything else on the NBA?
Now let's get to some football.
All right, we'll get to some football, but I quickly want to mention for you fantasy football nerds, geeks, and experts out there, we got to put them all together there. I know some cool guys who are fantasy football nerds. Don't miss out.
Are they cool then?
Maybe. They win the money. They're cool.
I like it.
The Dynasty Owner. If you missed the beta sign up, you can still get a lifetime discount if you register right now through their Indiegogo campaign at dynastyowner.com. Go to dynastyowner.com, select a level of support, start at $250, go up to $5,000. So it's $250, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You'll lock in a Dynasty team for life. They're not going away, so don't worry about that. Mm-hmm. Plus, you'll get additional gifts, hats, shirts, Yeti mugs. Love my Yeti, by the way, especially in the summer in the pool and the apple juice that goes in there.
Sure.
Game tickets, you get those. Or how about this, a 1-week trip to a private villa in Mexico. Prizes vary based on your selected level of support. So gear up for the upcoming football season with the first Dynasty salary cap fantasy sports game that not only plays the game week to week, but uses actual contracts and salaries that you find right here at Spotrac.com. You get to be the coach and the GM. Visit DynastyOwner.com, register your team, lock in those great prizes, and keep up with all the latest on Dynasty Owner Podcast wherever you subscribe. All right. Football players, we've got money, and where is our level of confidence? It's interesting. We have projected wins again here for the highest salary paid players in the National Football League.
By position. I sort of broke it down by position to show you who's the top paid guy in each spot, what their projected team wins are going to be, how stable their contract is, and then I just want to get your thoughts on.
Sure.
Is it worth it, right? I mean, is Seattle worth
Russ Wilson,
the Russ Wilson extension?
He's 30 years old, $35 million
per year.
It's the average salary through 2022 is what he's locked in for, and 8.5 wins. Yeah, I think he's the only way they get to 8.5 wins.
We talked a lot about this and about the possibility of them trading him. Remember this?
Yes.
You're fine with them keeping him?
Well, I think when we had that discussion, and you can go back and listen, I'm pretty sure I was like, you have to keep him because without him, you have nothing.
You have nothing. You're ripping it down for sure.
Because they tore apart that defense.
Yeah.
Legion of Boom was gone, and he was the only reason, and his performance last year was incredible.
I just wonder, I'm not sure if this is the right way to look at it, but it's one way to look at it, right? If you're looking at the division around you, right? Which we're in Buffalo.
You did, and you mentioned this too. And you've mentioned this too.
There's no looking at Tom Brady and getting around it at this point. But you're looking at the Rams. You're looking at that situation out west and the window they're in, and there's going to be a give and a take here soon, right? Maybe it's 2 years. I just wonder if moving on from Russell, which sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but bringing in a bona fide, young quarterback, cheap quarterback, by the way,
sure,
and getting yourself a 2-year start on him with the system you have in place wouldn't have put them in the perfect spot in 3 years when the Rams had to tear it down.
Well, there's no question in my mind that every team that has a quarterback is looking for the next guy, right?
Yeah.
Because of the way it's structured now, where if you can get a young quarterback that plays well, he's cheap, so you can get the other spots. You can pay a line, you can pay a defense, you can fill in the other gaps to kind of hide the inexperience, if you will.
Right.
I don't think they had a choice with this one, but yeah, he is somebody that could be moved. Certainly could see that down the road. But you're right about their division.
Tough.
8.5 might be high for the over/under. I bet the under on this team for sure.
You would?
I would. I would bet the under on the Seahawks.
There's a good takeaway from that.
Yes.
I like it.
I would definitely bet the under.
Speaking
on
of the Rams, let's get to Gurley here. I think it's kind of a softball question at this point, right? Nobody's confident in Todd Gurley earning $14 million a year right now, right?
No, and he's only 24.
Isn't that sad?
That is sad.
It's terrible. Yeah,
the guy's 50, he won't be walking. It seems right. I mean, jeez.
The worst part for me is we've talked about the age 27 being the peak, right, for most of these positional careers now. They had this pegged out perfectly. Right, they had 3 years of guarantees built into this contract. He was going to be 27 when that peak hit. They could have moved on or traded or whatever they had to do after that. They had it right on the dot, and no question they'd probably do the same with Jared Goff too. Now they're screwed. Now they're paying $45 million over the next couple of years for a guy who's going to be a by committee at best. I think.
Yeah, the interesting thing to me is paying running backs all this money.
Topical, man.
I know the money is huge in the NFL, but it just doesn't make sense, and it sounds cold. I mean, these are the guys who are the hardest workers, right? On offense for you, and they take the biggest beating. And unless you got somebody special, super special, but even then, it's going to fall off.
Let me rephrase you a little bit. Teams still should pay running backs. They just shouldn't pay one running back elite money.
Sure.
Right? So what has to happen is you have to start, and the Patriots sort of did this, right? They definitely overpaid Rex Burkhead. They definitely overpaid James White a little bit, right? $4.5 a year, which for him and his usage,
sure,
fine. And when I say overpay, I'm saying in terms of the rest of the running back market. I realize 4.5, versus Michael Thomas's $20 million coming is nothing, but that's what I think needs to get corrected, right? Zeke Elliott wants $15 million a year. I'm not going to sit here and say he doesn't deserve $15 million a year. What I'm telling you is the trends, the markets, the numbers I look at say Dallas would be crazy to do that.
Sure,
crazy to do that. But what if Zeke gets 9 and they bring in someone else at 8 or at 6, and you've got a 9 and a 6? What if you're still paying $15 million towards your running back arsenal? You just have to correct it to allow for depth, because depth is the word.
Right.
You have to have it.
Well, all right, so I'll look at the Saints real quick. You look at last year, Kamara and Ingram.
Yeah.
Wasn't that perfect?
Perfect.
It was perfect. But then you got to pay. They decide which one they're going to pay.
Right.
So you're right. I want to pay you both. I want to pay you both and keep you.
You're going to have to eventually, right? Because what's going to happen, I think, is you're going to see the correction happen with the wide receiver role as well, right? I mean, you're going to see Michael Thomas get 20. I'm not sure that's going to pan out.
Sure.
How do you do that? And then outside of keeping 3 rookies at $600,000 salaries, how do you then fill in the? You need 5 wide receivers now. You just do.
Well, the argument for Michael Thomas is he makes the other ones better, right? Because he attracts all the attention. So he's worth it, right?
Right, but what I'm saying is, for running backs, instead of $15 million, we drop it down to
10.
maybe 11 or 10.
Yeah,
right now, and obviously that increases with the cap. With wide receivers, instead of 20 and 18, we drop it back down to 16, and then you've got guys making between 16 and 12 and 13, and that's your arsenal, right? We've got to get rid of the max contract for these weapons, because you need so many of them, right? It just unless your roster is ridiculously cheap, like the Chiefs were for 2 years, right? Everybody was cheap. Kareem Hunt, everybody was just so dirt cheap. That's why Sammy Watkins got that ridiculous contract.
Let me say this. The other part of this, though, that goes into paying these guys big money, the star, like Gurley's a star, right? They sell a lot of Gurley jerseys. And don't think that doesn't matter, because I will tell you for a fact, a player on a hockey team, remember Maximo Finneganoff?
Of course.
Remember he got a big contract?
Yeah.
He skated. He led the team in points. I think it was a year after Drew Briere were let go in Buffalo. But one of the arguments for the money he got was they sell a ton of Finneganoff jerseys. So it's not just about selling tickets. They sell a lot of his jersey, and they recoup some money that way. So there's a marketing aspect to it, too. I know it's the NFL, and they're a big marketing machine. But if you have, I don't think they sell a ton of James White and Burkhead jerseys in New England, is my point.
I'm not sure how to react to this, because...
Well, you don't have to.
No. Excuse me. I want to. Because obviously it's the difference between cash and cap.
Correct.
Right? My head sits more towards the salary cap with football always, because that's just sort of where the work lies. But there's certainly something to be said about cash in, cash out, right?
Correct.
Certainly. I mean, that's Marshawn Lynch forever.
Russell Wilson
forever. So sure, if a marketable player should be worth more to you,
but on the cap,
it's a hard cap league.
Correct.
But it's a hard cap league.
Correct. That's the business side.
So that's got to win out every time.
I would agree. The football side would argue that.
Yeah.
And the you're talking about the personnel side would argue that, and then the business side would say, "Hang on a second here."
I just wonder if the Ezekiel Elliott example, if it was 11 instead of 15 a year, but it was fully guaranteed, right? Could that be the trade-off?
That makes a difference.
Like, we're willing to leverage an extra $11 million, which is what it would be. Like,
sure.
You let's say it's 4 years. Generally, you guarantee the first 2. All right, so we're leveraging an extra $22 million on you in full guarantees to bring the overall value of the contract down, because we've got to fit more in. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. With the running back, it's tough to guarantee money.
I think they probably like it how it is now. I'm talking about teams as opposed to players.
Yeah,
players. I think they like the money up front because they don't believe anything's going to happen to them. So they probably like the system too, where they get more cash up front instead of the security, if you will.
Let's veer off this topic and stay on this one, Kevin.
Okay.
Because there's actually a lot going on right now to sort of discuss this.
And what you guys talked about last week, too.
What you just brought up is going to become really popular, and I apologize if I was the start of this, because I made a comment yesterday about quarterbacks that could be out in 2020. Okay, I made a tweet about this. And the first one on the list, because he's on the 49ers, and that's the first hashtag I put on there,
Garoppolo.
Is Garoppolo.
Yeah.
And Garoppolo... Of course, he's got a big year coming off the injury. He's got, that team spent a lot of money and a lot of assets to be who they are now. Again, they're in this ridiculous division. What are the expectations really with that team? But to be fair, they structured a contract just like they structured all of their contracts, Kevin. Ridiculously front-loaded, almost no dead money in year 3, which is where we are with Garoppolo now in that deal. Or it will be next year, I should say. If he's average or worse, he's gone.
Sure.
He's gone. And all those 49ers contracts are like that. Tevin Coleman, gone next year if he's not a contributor this year. That's just the way the 49ers do it. So you say people want their money up front. The 49ers are the biggest example of front-loading contracts, but we might find out that players hate that more because there's no stability on those contracts. None, zero, zilch.
Well, it's perhaps a good analogy or a bad one. Brilliant by me right there. But anyways, so you just won the lottery. It's a $50 million lottery. I'll pay you $50 million over 20 years, or you'll get 30 now. Yep. You'll take the 30 now all day, wouldn't you? You take the 30. Everybody takes the 30. Everybody takes the cash up front. All the financial experts. Ask Morgan Stanley about this. But they take the money up front. Why? Because you can take that money. You can invest that money. You can do things with that money instead of having to wait for your money. Who knows if you're going to live 20 years, Mike? Take the money now.
Yeah, I think in that example, I'm with you.
And for the athlete, so if I'm Garoppolo, I'll use him for an example. Okay, you're going to front load this cash. Okay, I'm getting, what was the guarantee? So $60 million?
I don't know.
All right, but let's say
I probably should know, but I don't.
Well, I just it was around that. It was a big amount guaranteed to him up front, and then he's making high salaries after that. But he's got to perform for the next contract.
April 1st every year they guarantee.
Yeah. Do you think he doesn't believe he's going to perform? I mean, these are high achievers.
He's betting on himself. All the 49ers are betting on themselves. But Sherman, Quan Alexander, Tevin Coleman. You have to sign those contracts.
But the mind of the professional athlete is these guys are achievers, right? You make it to the pro level. They believe.
You're right.
They believe they're going to make it. They believe the backup running back, third string running back believes, I just get my chance. I'm going to perform. I'm going to get that big contract. That's what they believe. That's what their agent. A lot of agents, I'm sure, tell them that. Some agents are realistic and say, listen, look at, you know what? We need some security here to spread this out because your career on average is going to be 3.7 years. All right, so we need to spread this out there. But there are some guys, hey, let's take the big money. They get a bigger commission on that money up front, guaranteed. So, right?
Okay. Now you're on. Now you're on to the point.
Correct.
The agent has all of the win in this.
Absolutely.
Upfront money is all for the agent.
Sure.
All for the agent.
Well, but it's for the player's benefit too.
It's a good amount of money in hand.
It's intoxicating is what it is.
Look, we're coming off a 2-month cycle here where all we talked about was the power of the NBA players. They did whatever the hell they wanted.
Right.
Paul George walked into a coffee house and said, I got to get the heck out of Oklahoma City, and it happened in a day. But Jimmy Garoppolo is one of 32 starting quarterbacks in the league. He had a great half year there and was in negotiation for his big payday. He had all the power in the world. He could have walked. He could have walked out of that, right?
Yeah.
And they'd be left with, C.J. Beathard as their quarterback for last year, which would have been fine, not great. But Garoppolo, as the quarterback, has all the power in the world. If anybody's going to get a properly structured contract in the NFL, it is the quarterback right now. And Garoppolo's is not. It's not. It's great cash up front. I'm not going to complain about that. And no one in the world would turn down, whatever he got, $38 million last year, right? I think it was like 37 with a signing bonus last year.
74,
or a roster bonus.
$74 million, according to $74 million is guaranteed on Garoppolo's contract.
Yeah, but is that guaranteed at signing?
The guaranteed at signing was $41.7.
That's what he's going to get.
Sure.
That's what he'll walk away with if they cut him after this year or trade him after this year.
Which
$41 million. That's a lot of money.
Right.
It's a lot of money.
Which, if he doesn't perform tremendously, they're going to do.
They're going to do it.
Because that's the smart business decision.
That's how they structure their contracts.
But he understands that.
Well, the reason I'm bringing this up, Kevin, is you probably haven't seen it this morning, but his agent is blasting this whole structure. He's blasting the 49ers for the contract structure.
He's the one who agreed to it.
He did it.
Yes, he agreed to it.
The problem is, this is the 49ers way. It's like Pittsburgh. They've got a way. This is the way they do it.
Right.
It's rigid. We're not going to move off from it.
Tampa, same way, right?
My point is, you're Jimmy Garoppolo. You're the quarterback. There's 32 of them in the league. There's 18 good ones in the league. Maybe that's high, right? In the league. If anybody can break that structure, it should be you. Marshawn Lynch got the Seattle Seahawks to break their structure and got a deal with 3 years left in his contract. It's been done before. Julio Jones is putting the pressure on the Falcons. You're starting to see it. You're starting to see the players say, no, I don't care what you did 20 years ago. I need this done now because the game has changed. I need to get this. I need stability 3 years down the road for me now. Garoppolo didn't get that. My point is, he should have been the ringleader for this.
Well, maybe he will become one.
Might have to be.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think that your site has helped that is helping players understand. Helping players understand this.
Sure, and I think one of the
and
things
I'm not trying to diminish the role of agents because we enjoy having them on the show on occasion, and they do have but they it's anybody who's ever negotiated a contract. Negotiating your own contract is stressful, emotional. Like you need people to negotiate.
I'll
contracts.
go one step further. I'll never yell at an agent for getting his money either.
Correct.
Or her money. Get your job. Get your money. That's your job. That's your livelihood.
They usually earn it. No question.
If $41 million guaranteed at signing works for you, fine. My point is, you're the quarterback. It should be a stronger deal. Has the site helped? I think one of the biggest things that's helped, and we added this about 3 years ago, is the potential out. And if you look at Jimmy Garoppolo's contract on Spot Track, you'll see the potential out is after 2019 because there just is no fully guaranteed money on that contract after this year. Every April 1st, it locks in, and it's just, you can see every time we sign a new contract and we put the details in, I dictate based on the dead cap of the structure where the team can get out of that contract. That's the potential outline. It's literally a line we draw to the contract.
Correct.
I think that has helped more than anything. The public, players, whoever's cares about this stuff, understand just how strong of a deal it is.
I'm sure there are some players too that don't fully understand it.
Shame on them then, right?
Well, I'm just saying that.
Right? I mean, you should care. You should care how stable your contract is.
Well, I think they do. I'm just saying there's probably some who don't, and they're probably like, wait a second, they can cut me? And not like I'm supposed to get X amount of million, right?
You're right. And this is a terribly great time of year for that. Roster bubbles and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Fascinating stuff.
Lots going on.
Let's finish up this. We started this with the highest paid players by position, and we went.
Let's just go through a few more.
We veered off a little bit. We stopped with Gurley at running back. Odell Beckham Jr., Cleveland. He's only 26 years old, which I think is important to note. His salary is $18 million.
The big one here is the safe-through year.
Correct, which is this year. That's it.
Because most of his guaranteed money was the signing bonus, which the Giants paid, right?
Right.
Cleveland isn't obligated to too much guaranteed at all. He's guaranteed through this year, and then they have an option on him next year.
There's a lot riding on him, I think, because of the Cleveland, what they did the last couple of years, that they should be a good team. A lot of it rides on Baker Mayfield, obviously. But getting Beckham was a sign of confidence in Mayfield to make him better. Jimmy Graham with Green Bay, $10 million for the tight end. This is because Gronk's not playing.
Well, it is, but it's also, it represents a slow, gradual devaluation to this position. We're seeing the same thing happen to the tight end that's happened with running backs. You need more than one.
Sure.
Their superstars are sort of dwindling, right? Your Travis Kelce's are still there. Kyle Rudolph, his career's on the backslide. He had to restructure.
Who's the fellow in Philly?
Ertz got a nice but not great contract extension. So you're already starting to see those numbers fall. So Jimmy Graham's $10 million a year, which was signed in Seattle originally, and then he moved on to Green Bay. This is the last year of that deal. We haven't seen a $10 million plus tight end since. So we'll see if the younger crop of guys can sort of surpass that. But as of now, he's the top of the list.
Let's Trent Brown in Oakland is the top offensive lineman at $16.5 million. They projected 5.5 wins.
I think the best thing about the Raiders this year will be Hard Knocks, right?
Probably, for sure, especially with Chucky. Two defensive linemen, which is going to be fascinating to see how these guys follow up the great years they had, Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack.
I've got 100% confidence in both those guys.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah,
Khalil Mack is just
fun to watch.
Everybody in Buffalo, by the way, does not forgive Doug Whaley for not drafting Khalil Mack when he made the trade.
Who'd they take?
Sammy Watkins.
Oh, him.
Yes, exactly. C.J. Mosley with the Jets. 6.5 wins, $17 million at linebacker. That'll be interesting. There you have Xavier Howard, the cornerback in Miami at $15 million, projected 5.5 wins. Matthew in Kansas City, $14 million at safety.
I like it a lot. I like what the Chiefs did a lot this offseason. I think they did enough. We'll see if they can. The Tyreek Hill situation is going to flesh out in the next month or so.
Yes,
we'll see what happens. I'm worried if he gets like an $18 million a year extension coming, because certainly worth it on the field.
Yes.
His expiring contract, certainly worth it on the field. But, man, talk about a media blast if he signs an extension here.
The optics and audible of it just doesn't sound or look good. I love that you have kickers on here.
Have to.
Justin Tucker and Thomas Morstead.
I've got confidence in Justin Tucker.
Sure.
Right? I'd pay Justin Tucker $5 million a year.
I would, if you have a great kicker, I would pay him. I mean, you think about all that comes down to it, and it comes down to your kicker. if you got a good one, hang on to him.
It matters.
Pay him. Yeah, it definitely matters, especially when you're talking about the margin, right? The over-under for Baltimore is 8.5.
Especially with a young quarterback. You've got Lamar Jackson, right? You've got an offense that's sort of finding its way right now. Having a guy that can bang 3 points through for you consistently is crazy important to that team right now.
By the way, all right, 20 years, Brady and Belichick, this is remarkable. Their overall record.
We're never going to see that again, right?
No, they're
a coach and a quarterback 20 years.
This is their. No, you won't.
Never. We're never going to see that.
Never. I don't think you'll see a quarterback play 20 years.
Yeah.
Brady is. It's just. This is why he's the greatest of all time. You look at the longevity, not just a Super Bowl wins, 6 of them. But the longevity is incredible. I know Vinny Testaverde played for him. I'm talking about performance, though, with the longevity. 255 regular season wins, 89 losses as a duo. That's pretty. That's incredible. And Brady, this is probably more incredible.
It is.
He's missed 19 games out of 286.
19. And most of that was that 1 year.
When Castle took over.
Yeah.
And they didn't make the playoffs.
Right.
But they won 11 games?
Was it still 11 games?
I think it was 11 games. They won 11-5 and didn't make it.
Matt Castle got paid because of it.
And he got paid a lot of money of that. So pretty incredible.
How about this
there.
next stat, by the way, Tom Brady?
On the interception ratio?
Career interception rate, which is percent of interceptions versus attempts.
This is remarkable.
1.8% in his career, in a 19-year career.
Right.
1.8%.
Manning's 2.7%. Johnny Unitas 4.9%. Joe Montana 2.6%, closest, and he was regarded as the best ever before Tom Brady.
Montana, Marino, right?
Marino, I thought Marino's would be higher at 3%.
Good.
As much as Dan threw the football.
Those are all outstanding numbers, but 1.8 for Tom Brady.
That is remarkable. Well, he throws the ball away so much.
Isn't that the smartest thing yet?
It's brilliant. He rolls out, get outside the tackles, and just throw it down.
It's crazy.
That's why he's played 20 years. He's smart.
That needs to be one of the stats that sticks with him in the Hall of Fame. That's an unbelievable number.
Correct.
That's an unbelievable number.
Only 3 franchises have more playoff wins than Tom Brady's 30.
Total.
These are franchises. Only 3 franchises have more playoff wins. All right? Tom Brady has 30 playoff wins. Pittsburgh, Green Bay, Dallas, 3 hallmark teams.
Yeah.
Right? Iconic
how about this
teams
one? For all you gambling people out there, how about this one? Super Bowl 53, which the Patriots won, as we remember here, was the 50th straight game that Tom Brady was the quarterback of as the betting favorite. The Patriots haven't been an underdog with Brady as the quarterback in 50 games.
Wow.
What the heck?
I wonder how much money. Someone's probably bet the Patriots every game of those 50. And
You're right.
The spread, and I wonder how much money they've made.
You're right.
On Tom Brady and the Patriots.
By the way, the record is Kurt Warner 55, so he's going to surpass that.
Wow.
I mean, they're going to be the favorites, right? The first 5 weeks.
Yeah. Kurt Warner, when he would.
Right? That's a name.
Unbelievable.
That's a name. From the grocery store to that.
I called games in the Arena Football League. It's remarkable he came out of the Arena Football League to do that. Before Brady, the Patriots had 10 postseason appearances in their history. They've now had 10 in a row, going back, obviously, to 2009. That's the longest streak in NFL history.
But Brady was 32 when that started. What is he, 42 now?
He's 42.
So he was,
yes.
He was 32 and has ripped off 10 straight postseasons.
That's unbelievable. This is important. He's set to earn $15 million. Which will raise his career earnings to $227 million. That'll be 4th all time. But I stress set to make. He's not.
You think?
He's not starting the year. He's not going to make $15 million this year. Not when Russ Wilson's making $35. No way.
Let me pose something to you here.
And I know he's never earned $20 million a year.
I think I've been thinking about this. Like, what's the best way to go out if you're Tom Brady? Because obviously he could just redo it, do another 2-year extensions. What he's done for the last 10 years, right? Every year or two, he gets himself another signing bonus and turns this thing over. Because he's got a high cap hit. His cap hit's like $27 million this year. But to that point, if his contract expires, how about going out on a franchise tag? The franchise tag for Tom Brady next year, which would be 120% of that $27 million we just talked about, would be $32.5 million. How about a 1-year, fully guaranteed franchise tag to finish off your career?
I think he'd rather win. He doesn't need the money. Right?
No, I just think it'd be satirically great. Right?
Okay.
Right? Like, I'm 43. Slap me the franchise tag, just as sort of like a mockery of the current structure of football. I'll play that out. I'll get paid a little bit. He's going to get $30 million either way, whether it's a signing bonus and a restructured contract or that. I think it would be hilarious for a 43-year-old to get slapped a franchise tag and finish your career on it. I think it'd be hysterical.
I see what you're saying
because it's a joke.
I think though, if he's going to play that year, I think he wants to win.
Okay,
and I think that's the only thing that drives. I mean,
so you think the $32 million cap would be ridiculous?
I think he hasn't earned over 20 in a single year. There's a reason for it.
Isn't that crazy?
Because
he has never earned $20 million in a year cash.
Right.
Ever.
But you know what? He's probably going to earn more post-career than he will in career, right?
Of course.
Because he's Tom Brady.
Let's expand on it. Is he going to be an autograph guy? What's he going to do? I mean, businesses, of course, but he's not going to be. I mean, he's not going to be visible in football still, is he? He seems like a guy who's just going to run away.
Yeah, I would think so.
Like a Joe Montana. Well, Montana did some TV work.
He does
right?
Skechers.
Did Montana did TV work, right?
A little bit, yes.
That's not Brady, right?
Well, I can see Brady doing it.
Can you?
I
feel like he just wants to run away.
Well, yeah. His wife makes more money than he does.
Oh, he admits it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Tom's probably diversified with business interests. I mean, I think he wants to build the Brady brand,
Sure.
And so I think be something there, but
avocado farm or something.
Well, probably,
yeah,
right? I could see him owning a piece of the Patriots.
I think okay. But silently, right?
Sure.
I don't think he's visible in football
He's
anymore.
not. I don't think he's John Elway.
No.
I think he's got too many other things in life.
Nor should he be. I think the mystery of Tom Brady is probably one of the better parts of it, right? It's this whole Kawhi Leonard thing, right? What we don't know is interesting as hell.
I think there's a little weird there, isn't there?
Yeah, he's a little goofy.
Yeah, but that's
Seems
fine.
like a fun dad, right?
Yeah, you know what? He's going to be goofy dad.
Goofy dad.
And that's fine.
With hot mom.
That's also fine. All right. Let's finish up here. Forbes came out with their sports teams valuations.
Yeah, have to talk about this, right?
And it's interesting that every NFL team is now worth at least $2 billion.
$2 billion. But yeah, nobody's going and nobody's watching, right?
Right.
Holy cow.
Every NFL team, think about that for a second. The last sale was the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
And they went for they went for two.
Let me look here. I got it right here.
I think it went for two because the Bills were the previous sale. They were $1.4 billion.
I think it was two.
And it was $2 billion.
They're worth 2.3 now, so they're already on the increase.
Yes. They were. I think they were $2
And that was
billion.
a forced sale.
Correct.
So that was, not going to be top value no matter what. The Bills was essentially a real sale.
So think about this. Yeah, so the Bills sold for $1.4 billion and
where are they at here?
5 years time, 4 years time, they're over $2 billion.
Probably right at two, right? They're probably one of the lowest.
They're probably
one
of the lowest valuations, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're last.
Have to be last, right?
Yeah, they're last.
But that just tells you how much money's in the National Football League. Amidst all the concussion concerns and attendance concerns, right? $2 billion. And that's just going to increase as more states allow sports gambling. And we'll have,
no question.
Have ticket windows right there in the stadium. This is interesting to me. Basketball. Mm-hmm. The Knicks are the fifth most valuable team in all of sports.
All of sports.
Are they the worst team that's worth the most?
They're the most valuable team in basketball. I mean, how?
That's what that is. It's the media market and MSG.
But why does that still matter so damn much? I don't understand it.
Just does.
I mean, the Lakers are second. They're eighth overall in sports. They're the second in the NBA. And the difference is almost $300 million between L.A. and New York.
But it's the media contract for the games that aren't on network. And because the cable company owns the team.
It's because they own the building, they own the network, they own the team, right?
Correct.
So it's all-inclusive.
They're vertical, man. That's the way to do it. I'm telling you.
Man.
Interesting, the Patriots aren't in the top five, which is...
Why is it? Is it because of what we just talked about?
I think so.
Because things are spread out?
But, you think the market they're in because of their winning, you would think more. That's astonishing to me that they're not there. The Lakers are eighth.
Yeah.
Okay. L.A., I get it.
I wonder how much winning matters. Because Golden State's is ninth now. They're right behind the Lakers. I mean, ninth in sports.
Right.
So winning obviously matters because, Oakland
But
Oakland's not a market.
No, it's not a market, but Silicon Valley is. San Fran is.
But they're going there now.
They're going there now.
So that's another reason it's going to jump. But also, I mean, you've got a dynasty team there. They certainly weren't ninth 5 years ago.
No.
So,
oh my gosh,
winning has a huge impact. So if the Lakers win again, are they jumping the Knicks? That's got to be worth $300 million in value,
I think
doesn't
because
it?
the Knicks are on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And because the Lakers are on the West Coast, I think that's why the Knicks are, you look at not just New York City, but all around New York City. Crazy. All right. You mentioned the Warriors. Well, this is interesting.
It is.
This is really – so they have the new arena, and you wonder, okay, are people going to get on board with the higher tickets, suites?
Yeah, but talk about doing this at the perfect time, right?
Oh my gosh!
I mean, in the midst of the greatest dynasty of this generation, you decide to build a stadium in one of the richest areas of America.
Yep. They have $2 billion guaranteed cash from sponsors, suites, and season tickets before it even opens.
Guaranteed. In pocket, $2 billion.
That is awesome.
That's a nice way to start a new business.
Yes. Does a guy who got suspended get any part of that?
Oh, no. You know what? That's worth looking up if he's going to make the transfer over to San Francisco.
Well, he's not next year, that's for sure. All right. I was surprised. I'm not surprised the Yankees are worth more than the Dodgers, but a $1.3 billion more?
Yeah, it's the Yes Network. It's the Knicks conversation. New York owns their television networks, and until it doesn't, those still really matter, right?
Well, and debt matters.
Yeah.
And the Yankees have no debt.
That was shocking to me. That was shocking to me. Everybody has some debt. Everybody has some percentage of debt. They just run with debt. They overdo themselves a little bit every year. It's just kind of,
They got cash flow. They can handle the debt.
That's right.
Yep.
The Yankees are operating at 0% debt.
That is remarkable. By the way,
think about that.
JC, I disagree. You did not make the New York Yankees logo more famous than the team. My son was playing that song recently. I'm like, that is a false statement right there. By the way, Steinbrenner's paid $8.8 million in 1973 for the team. And remember how cheap he was accused of being as an owner?
It worked.
It certainly worked.
It worked.
And the Mets are worth half of what
half.
That doesn't make sense to me. Half. Wow.
Half.
You know what I think it is? Color scheme.
Come on, the blue and the orange.
I'm actually wearing a Mets shirt. This is the only Mets shirt that I own.
Yeah, I like it.
By the way, it's old, as you can tell. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to replace that one.
No, not this year.
No, definitely. Well, maybe this might be the year. Get it on sale. For sure. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Make sure you go to SpotTrack.com. Check out all the information and contracts that we talked about. Consider becoming a premium member of SpotTrack.com, ad-free experience, and also other extras there. And, of course, we're presented by Morgan Stanley Global Sports and Entertainment. If you want to learn more, especially athletes and entertainers that listen to the show, go to morganstanley.com/GSE. You can learn how to do that signing bonus so it lasts more than the guaranteed money. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, LLC, member SIPC. Thanks for listening to the SpotTrack.com podcast.